Nick Martinez's time in the Reds starting rotation may be in jeopardy after another poor start, and Elly De La Cruz needs to learn how to field a ground ball. We'll break it down on today's Locked On Reds.
You are Locked On Reds, your daily Cincinnati Reds podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Reds podcast. My name is Jeff Carr. His name is Steve Offenbaker, and we are lifelong Cincinnati Reds fans. And we have turned an addiction to this team into information for you. We've been talking about this Reds team for a collective 14 seasons now as podcasters, and we're glad that you're alongside us here today. Locked On Reds is part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every single day. Shout out to our everydayers out there, always making us your first listen every single day. And on today's show, we are going to be breaking down this loss on Wednesday night, the silver lining. There was a silver lining from it. We're gonna hide that later on in today's show because we get it. There was a lot more about this game that is concerning. The biggest concern, of course, is twofold. Firstly, it's the unforced errors. It's the mistakes. It's the things that the Reds left on the table. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes, including a couple of mistakes from Elly De La Cruz. But I actually want to start with Nick Martinez because it was another rough start for him. It's been a rough start to the season. And are we sure that he's a rotation lock moving forward? We're going to answer that to begin today's show that is all brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. All right, Steve. Nick Martinez was not great. He was pulled quickly. He did get to a third time in the order for a couple of hitters and then was very quickly pulled. He gave up a monster home run to Cal Raleigh there in the fifth inning, and then he walked the next two guys. And so it was clear it was time to get rid of him. But it wasn't even that moment that it was not a good day for him. It was tough sledding from the word go.
It was. Nick Martinez never really looked very sharp in this game. And, things got off on a really bad footing anyway on the first pitch of the game. Elly De La Cruz does that thing that Elly De La Cruz does. And we're going to get into that a little bit later in the show. But I think it put Nick Martinez behind the eight ball right out of the gate. Very first hitter. He was working out of a jam that was not of his own making. And then he wasn't very sharp after that anyway. I have real doubts now about Nick Martinez. The more you look at that great run that he had at the end of last season, and the more you look at how he's pitching right now, and then you look at how he's pitched for his whole career, I really think the Reds did not expect him to take that qualifying offer. I really think the thought process there was that somebody's going to look at how he finished last year and that has money to burn, Dodgers, and that could structure a deal that it wouldn't hurt them too bad, Dodgers, and, swoop Nick Martinez out, Dodgers. That might be what went down. But instead, Nick Martinez didn't get those offers and picked up the qualifying offer, and it really tied the Reds' hands. They have to use him as a starter. They're not going to put him and his $21 million arm in the bullpen to begin the season, although I think he's playing his way in that direction right now.
Is that why they do the gambling celebration and every time they score? No, I'm just kidding. But that was a bad gamble on the GM's part. I don't know that I'm ready to completely dismiss it, but I'm kind of there. I'm not all the way there yet with you, but I'm wondering a little bit because
he's demonstrating all of the same tendencies that Graham Ashcraft demonstrates as a starter. For all of the same reasons that we said Graham Ashcraft should be in the bullpen, Nick Martinez is doing every single one of those things right now.
It felt like they needed the stability, and so they were paying for the stability, but I don't even know that he's providing that stability now. Now you're kind of thinking, all right, where's Rhett Lauder at? Where's Wade Miley at? How far along is Chase Petty in his development? Do we want to start his clock? Things like that. It's starting to creep up for me. I don't think it's there yet. I'm not to the point where I'm get this dude out of the rotation. But at the same time, I'm not as solid as I was at the beginning of the season on Nick Martinez because it's clear he's the weak link, right? The other four guys in the rotation have been better than solid. Nick Lodolo's start notwithstanding, but even before that, Nick Lodolo was amazing. So even with one bad start, he's still much better looking than where Nick Martinez is now, because it's not just that he was giving up runs. It's that any contact it felt like was made against him was hard hit. There were 10 hard hit baseballs against him in this game. A hard hit baseball is defined as a ball that was hit 95 miles an hour or more off of a pitch. And that happened 10 times against him in less than 5 innings pitched. It was just all over the place. And whether they turned into outs or home runs or base hits or what have you, Seattle was just all over him in this game. His cut fastball, his sinking fastball were just getting clobbered. I wrote that note down because I looked on Savant, and I think the minimum exit velocity against his cut fastball was 99 miles an hour. People were just destroying that. And that was actually the pitch that Cal Rowley hit into the moon deck in the 5th inning was a cut fastball. And his cut fastball really only goes like 88 miles an hour. It's not the weapon that some cut fastballs perceive to be. His is a little bit more of a show me pitch, but he throws it like it's a weapon. And so it's really kind of put him into a bind. I almost wonder if they rethink his strategy for his next start.
Maybe so. I dropped into Tim Daniel postcast show after the game last night and was just kind of kicking it around in the comment section there towards
live after every game. Got to check
live after every game. And the thought is, well, what do you do? Do you call Carson Spires back up and give him another start? I don't know that that's enough of an improvement to pull Nick Martinez out. I think it's got to be when.
Are we doing the Jake Fraley, Will Benson argument again?
Yeah, I think we are.
Like that.
It really is. I think that until one of Lodolo or Miley or Petty, the 3 names that you mentioned, until one of those guys is available and ready to take that spot, I think
Louder, not Lodolo for the Panay.
I'm sorry. Is that what did I say? Lodolo?
You said Lodolo.
I got his stats in front of me.
Louder, no. But I know what you meant. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
yeah.
Until one of those guys is available to take that spot, I mean, it doesn't make any real sense to me to move Martinez out for Spires. It makes sense to me to move him out for any of those other guys. And in Wade Miley's case, we need to wait and see what he can do in his AAA rehab starts before we really get too excited about him coming back. But there's not a move to be made right now, I don't think, is what I'm saying.
No, and I think that it's more likely that he bounces back in his next start than one of those guys provides a better performance in the next start. Chase Petty still needs a little bit more time in AAA before I'm comfortable bringing him up to the major leagues. And plus, if you don't have to start his clock early and you can wait till the Super 2 deadline, we don't normally advocate for service time manipulation, but the Reds are in a position where they can do that. So they don't have to start his clock right now if they don't want
more starts. I think that'd be 4 more starts, Jeff.
Yeah, I think it's
you get 4 more starts. You get past the May, whatever the date.
But then by then you might have Rhett Louder available, and then it's a moot point. But I think ultimately the chances are better that he bounces back. But it's a little bit of a bummer that we're in this spot because we are not talking about, is he worth the qualifying offer? I think we all agree he's not. The question now is, do you regret doing that? And you regret the stability that he brings to the rotation? I think that is what is in play right now. I'm not there yet. Sounds like you are.
I am. Okay. I'm a little more wishing they had spent $21 million on somebody else. I
assuming they would have done that, but yes,
I was assuming they would have done that. Yeah, I think that was, in hindsight, maybe not the best move to make.
No, I cannot vehemently argue against you at the moment because Nick Martinez really isn't providing much of an argument to be had.
I just want to give a real quick update too, since we're talking about Rhett Louder and Wade Miley. We did hear on the broadcast last night, Wade Miley is very close to heading out for some rehab starts. He's not that far away. They are bringing Rhett Louder along a little bit slower. He is throwing bullpens out in Arizona, but not quite ready to get out to the rehab assignment. So it'll be a little bit more time for Louder, but you're right. We get into May, we may see him make a couple of rehab starts and see how he spins things up. But I'll tell you this, Jeff, I teased it a little bit. I am upset. I am upset at the miscues. I am upset at the things I was promised were going to get fixed by Tito Francona. They have not been fixed, and we're going to get into that coming up next.
Did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe or sign in to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to to play. Dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports College Football 25 to Call of Duty Black Ops 6 and even Halo as easily as you stream your favorite shows. It's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. No, seriously, all you have to do is just pair a Xbox controller or 4 to your Fire TV Stick 4K and play your favorite Xbox games anywhere. If you're a hardened gamer like myself and want to have your PlayStation, Nintendo Switch, and your Xbox too, then this is for you. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K 2nd Gen, Fire TV Stick 4K Max 1st and 2nd Gen, and Fire TV Cube.
There's nothing better than catching an MLB game live. The crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd, Jeff Carr waiting in line at the Fry Box. If you're looking to go to a baseball game last minute, Game Time makes getting tickets easier than ever. With last-minute deals, all-in pricing, and lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the stress out of buying MLB tickets. Plus, ticket prices drop as the game time gets closer. We tell you about this all the time. You can get incredible deals. Jeff and I go down to the Dora. We have a drink. We grab some food. And, 15 minutes before first pitch, we grab our tickets at greatly reduced prices and head on over to the game. Game Time is the official ticketing partner of Locked On. And if you're looking to go to today's game, it's an early one. You better get down there right now. You can grab a ticket on Game Time. You can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Again, terms do apply. Create your account, redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Make sure you have clicked that subscribe button. You do not want to miss any of the great Reds content we have coming your way. Jeff and I are in your feed 5 days a week. Tim Daniel and the Postcast are in your feed live after every single Reds game, and then in the audio feed a little bit after that. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any of that stuff coming your way. All right, Jeff, I am upset. I have held my tongue. I feel like I have waited long enough for Tito to fix some things, and we're going to start with the face of this, the face of this franchise, the one of the faces of baseball, the cover of MLB The Show, Elly De La Cruz, the shortstop of this team, the guy that was told from day one, you're going to be our shortstop. Get out there and play it with somebody, for the love of God. Teach him to get in front of a ball and break down on it and field it and stop this Matador Ole crap that continues to lead to unforced errors and cost this team runs. I'm tired of it. He is too good. Running down the left field line, jumping up and catching plays at the wall in the outfield from the shortstop position, running all the way across third base, fielding the ball, and he can't field a ground ball. I don't know if it's ego. I don't know if it's lazy. What I know is it's not okay, and it needs to be fixed.
No, you're right. It's not okay. I don't prescribe to those who say it's lazy. I don't think it's lazy. I think it's a little bit more egotistical than it is anything, because he believes he can do no wrong. He believes he is so good that whatever's about to happen, it's going to succeed. And there's some cases where it doesn't, because he is just seeing that it's going to happen. It's going to succeed. He's like that dude who goes over to FanDuel and puts together a 10 leg parlay, and he's like, there's no way this can fail. It's probably going to fail. Like, you've got to reassess in some situations, because he did it later on when he got picked off. He steals second base. He steals on Cal Raleigh, who, by the way, is really good. Like, I think he was second in the major leagues at caught stealing last year, as far as catching guys trying to steal a base. And so he steals second on Cal Raleigh, and he's like, all right, I'm feeling good. Next pitch, he tries to time starting pitcher Bryce Miller so that he can go steal third. Well, Bryce Miller and Cal Raleigh probably did that thing where they're good teammates and they communicate, and they said, watch out, this dude's about to go. Let's see if we can get him. And they got him, and they picked him off. And then the very next pitch, Austin Hayes hits a single, which would have scored Elly De La Cruz had he not got picked off second base. So there's a little bit of this that I think stems from ego. And you want him to have ego. I'm not saying we don't want him to have ego, but we want him to clean up this mistakes. Like, we're not just focusing on the mistakes because they're there. It's because he is a good player who is missing out on greatness because of these mistakes.
And it wasn't his only mistake of the game. While we're talking Elly, let's talk about the other one. Let's talk about the stolen base, getting down to second base.
I just worked that in.
And then getting picked off. Here's the thing. You said this during show prep, and I was like, I wish we were recording, because it's these things that you can point to interviews from Terry Francona in the offseason and know that these were the things that Tito was talking about. He was talking about these fielding errors on routine plays that you just got to get rid of. He was talking about, not eliminating Elly's ability to steal, but to do it in smart situations and do it in a way that doesn't hurt the team. And he ran the Reds out of a run, right? Because the very next at bat was a hit. It would have scored him. And now instead of 5-3, it's 5-4. And if you take away the error in the first one, you're at 4-4. It had a massive impact on the game. But it's not just Elly. He's not the only guy that makes mistakes and made mistakes in yesterday's game, right?
Who do you and I kind of wonder about this one, because I don't know who I put this on, because I think the green light was on third base for José Trevino. And the whole situation was Trevino was on second base. TJ Friedl hit a line drive that one hop to the right fielder. This wasn't something that went all the way to the wall, and it wasn't super deep. It was kind of normal depth in right field. And so José Trevino rounded third as if this ball got all the way to the wall, and he got gunned down at home plate. That's something I don't even know how this play fails for Seattle. Like, they got him out, and there was even a moment where, Terry Francona did the whole thing where he was holding the hand up. He's like, wait, no, we're not going to review it, because there's nothing to review. Like, he was out, and it was so clear that it makes you wonder, like, was this José Trevino thinking, yeah, buddy, I got them wheels? Or was this J.R. House being like, nope, he's got them wheels? Like, who thought they had the wheels? Because nobody should have thought that he had the wheels.
I think Cowboy on the broadcast said he was out from here to the river, something along the lines of that. I read something. I need to go back and watch the replay and see if we can pick it up on the video and see it. But it seemed like a late sin. José Trevino didn't go into third base to me looking like a guy that already had a windmill on. So I think J.R. House made a late decision to send him. That's what I think happened based on how Trevino ran. And that kind of stuff happens, but it was a mistake. And do the Reds get that run? We don't know. There's no way to really quantify that, but they, the dreaded make the out at the plate to end the, it's stuff that was
a mistake, right? It was a mistake. It was an incident, right? It's an incident.
It's an incident.
So
is this what we're doing?
I think we need to do this now. I think we need to have one of those things where it's like, how many days since your last incident, since your last time lost,
Right, so for the audio feed folks on the screen right now, for the YouTube people, is actually a Tito Francona graphic. Him looking at a sign that in fact says 0 days since last incident. I agree, Jeff.
Because there's definitely, and it's clear, and I really hope that we mitigate this to the point that they're gone by the time the middle of the summer is going to happen. But it's clear that Terry Francona, as much work as he's put in, and as much as we have seen improved baseball played by this ball club over the last couple of weeks, it's still going to happen at some points. And I really hope that he eradicates it by the middle of the summer. But games like Wednesday infuriate me. Because you look at what happened in the seventh inning when they score 3 runs, and you look at some of the other innings where they were applying pressure to Seattle, but they didn't end up scoring on them. How much different does that look? As, like, if you said Elly scores, he doesn't get picked off, he scores. José Trevino stays on third. Maybe he ends up coming in on the ensuing at bat after that. That was the third out of the inning. The inning was over. So that's speculation. But if Elly doesn't make that easy error in the first inning, and they don't get that run, does that change the entire complexion of the night for Nick Martinez? There's so many what ifs that the mistakes led to what we saw. And we've got to get rid of these types of games, because at the end of the day, you look at it and you say, this was just one of those games you were going to lose. But they had the ability to steal that game away from that column, and they didn't.
And I want to be clear also, because I am envisioning there's going to be a segment of the comment section listening that's going to
well,
come
we got
after
silver
me
linings coming up.
for
Those are
coming
up.
after Elly. I don't need him to play completely error-free defense. That's too much of an ask. I'm not trying to be unrealistic, but I'm talking about when he clearly takes an approach to a ball that is not to get in front of it. The approach is clearly to field it on the side. And then there's an error, and you're like, that could have been eliminated, because even if he screwed it up, it would have knocked it down, right? If he had been behind that ball, he would have knocked it down. And those are the things I'm asking for. I'm not asking for him to field every single ball cleanly. I'm not asking for him to not have an error or two along the way, but I'm asking for him to do the things that he can do to minimize them as much as possible. That's really what I'm saying, Jeff. Not that these guys can't make mistakes and they have to be perfect, but do things the right way to minimize the damage when things go wrong.
I think it's clear that he has made 1,000 of those plays in his life, so that when he approaches it that way and it doesn't work out, it completely flabbergasts him, because he's like, I've done this a ton of times. Why did it not work that one time? And so he does need to make sure that he goes back, he figures out what went wrong, fixes it for the next time. That's really what he needs to take away from that mistake. But I know this, Steve, there were a few things, because I have been told by multiple people in multiple circles that there's like half the team that needs to be sent down. I'm going to tell you why. Pretty much all those people were actually silver linings on Wednesday night.
Basketball and hockey playoff time is here, and there's no better way to turn your sports knowledge into real rewards with Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy. With Prize Picks, you simply pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, and you are in. You can even combine players across sports, basketball, hockey, baseball. The list goes on and on. You can combine all those for your chance to win up to 2,000 times your catch. Here's what I do. I like to do what Jeff Carr likes to do. I like to pick a few baseball stats and run them together. Is Elly going to have a couple hits? Go more. Is Austin Hayes going to have a home run? Go more. Combine those up and win big. Just download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game.
If you can't watch us and see that wonderful 0 days since last incident graphic that I have for you, you can always listen to us on your favorite podcasting platform, because we're seriously on every single one out there. Make sure you subscribe today, become an everydayer. And by the way, when you're done listening to us here today or watching us here today, make sure you check out Locked On MLB Game Night, because we got you covered for every single Major League Baseball game that happens in a given day on Locked On MLB Game Night. You can find it on the Locked On MLB channel. All right, Steve. Yeah, it was an annoying loss, and we had some concerning, worrisome things that we had to get through. We got through those. Let's talk about some silver linings, because there were some. As annoying as the loss was, there were definitely some guys like Christian Encarnacion Strand, Jake Fraley, Spencer Steer that provided us with some silver linings, where a couple of hours ago I was hearing everything of why these guys had no business being in the major leagues any longer.
Aren't the direct messages fun during the game there, Jeff?
Gosh.
Listen, here's something for you. You want a silver lining? I'll give you a silver lining. In a game, as we said, that looked like it was destined for the loss column from the first pitch, the Reds kept in it. They kept fighting. They remained relevant through the whole 9-inning ball game. And the starting lineup, Jeff, everybody but Jake Fraley got a hit. And Jake Fraley tattooed a couple baseballs that went just foul. He had some really good at bats. I think he's very, very close to maybe breaking out. You know, we talked about how much longer to give him. He looks like he's showing signs. If he can get that done in the next week or so, I'll feel a lot better about him. But everybody in this lineup hit the ball last night. And in a couple cases, TJ Friedl, José Trevino, both with a multi-hit game. So the guys were hitting the ball.
Yeah, we're starting to see a little bit more consistent contact being made from TJ Friedl at the top of the lineup. That was something that I had kind of earmarked about a week ago of like, man, kind of feels like TJ Friedl's having a little bit of trouble getting going this season. Let's keep an eye on this, see how it goes. Because there's been a lot of guys like that in the lineup. Spencer Steer, namely, He's a guy that we kind of saw a little bit of a bounce back in San Francisco. Then he went quiet again for about 4 games, got himself a hit last night. Really need to see a little bit more consistency from him because he's still the mashed potatoes, Steve. We still need to see the mashed potatoes on the plate. And right now we're seeing like the leftover KFC mashed potato. Not sure if they're like rubber or are they edible or something like that. We need to get a little bit of refreshingness going on with Spencer Steer in the bat. And then, of course, CES with the extra base hit with the double. That is a guy that just needs to see a ball fall because he's still been hitting the ball pretty well as far as like quality of contact goes. It's just been finding gloves. He needs to find some grass here soon with these hits because it's going to really help him. He's been pressing a lot. A chase rate. I was looking at this, Steve. He's swinging at 50% of the pitches that he sees outside the zone. Outside the zone, pitches outside the zone, he's swinging at half of them because he's pressing. And I think if he starts seeing the ball fall, he's going to stop pressing.
Right. Some more silver linings. Let's talk about the B squad in the bullpen. We broke that down for you yesterday about who's the A team, who's the B team. Well, it was definitely a B team game, but a couple guys are really leaning into those roles that they're being given, and they're doing a good job with them. Let's start with Barlow. He's looked really good in his last couple outings, filling that role of being a bridge guy from the starter to the meat of the bullpen when you're still trying to figure out how the game is going to go. Barlow came in, pitched an inning in the third, struck one dude out, and kept it clean. That's all you can ask for from a guy in that role. Now, we've been questioning Taylor Rogers, right? We've been questioning like what it is, and he looked bad again. I don't know what is going on with this dude. I was excited when the Reds went and got him, but I'm starting to think that the San Francisco baseball giants knew something we don't know. And
the command was off for sure. Like it was not.
And he hasn't looked good all year. Ingeborg struggled a bit, but powered through. Got 2 outs, and then Brent Suter comes in and plays mop up and does it spectacularly. No runs, no hits, nobody scores, 1.1 innings. So the B squad pretty much got it done, with the exception of Taylor Rogers.
And again, it's good to know that they did not have to go to the A squad at all during a game in which they ended up losing, because you were kind of wondering at some point, like, is the game going to get out of hand? Who are we going to see come out of the bullpen in this case? And then the Reds made it close in the end. And then you wondered, you're like, all right, are you going to burn a Santillan, a Graham Ashcraft, or a Emilio Pagan in this game? And I think Terry Francona had it right, and he played it right. And I'm happy to see how he played it because the A squad is now completely fresh and ready to go for the finale.
And I want to talk about one more silver lining, and then if you got anything else to throw in there, by all means. But I want to just focus in on José Trevino for just a minute, because this guy, who when he came to Cincinnati was to be the backup to Ty Steve, to be somebody that you put in there and their defense would be pretty good and so on, etc. He's hitting 294 now after yesterday's game. His defense has been spectacular for the most part. The pitchers are crediting him for helping them to learn new things. The pitchers are crediting him with new approaches. Emilio Pagan talked about how José Trevino moves around behind the plate a little bit based on how a hitter is swinging and where the point of contact is going to be to kind of help the pitcher perform better against the hitter. José Trevino is doing a job right now, man.
Yeah, I mean, he's got an OPS of 822. You gotta love to see that. I mean, that's not what we expected. We said glove first, and if you get anything from the bat, you're happy. Well, he was conscripted into everyday playing time with the injury to Tyler Stevenson, which the good news is Tyler Stevenson's moving right along. We should be hopefully seeing him. The Reds are about to go on a long road trip for 3 cities, and the reports are that if everything continues the way it is, we will see him when the Reds return home after that road trip. But if honestly, I've been happy with what José Trevino has provided, and I think that a lot of folks wondered why the Reds signed that contract extension before ever watching him play a ball game. And it felt like they knew something. I don't know that they would have known that he was going to be this all around pretty good for the team, but they knew that they had something in this trade. And still, there were a lot of folks that were like, you really gave up Fernando Cruz for José Trevino? I'm pretty happy they did, Steve. I'm pretty happy.
Oh, I am too, for sure. I'm happy with the play. Austin Wynns has held his own in that backup role, waiting for Ty Steve to get back. I'm happy with the catcher play much more than I thought I was going to be, for sure. And on that happy note, unless you have another silver lining, that is where we are going to wrap up today's episode of the Locked On Reds podcast. Thanks, as always, for making us your first listen. Make sure you check out Tim Daniel and the Reds postcast after every game this year. Coming up on the next Locked On Reds, we're going to talk about, hopefully, a series win. It's going to be a fun one. Day game down at the old Great American Ballpark. We can't wait to talk about that with you and hopefully talking about another win. For your next listen, head over to Locked On MLB as Sully gives you a daily look at the biggest stories around the league. Until next time, we're going to keep gathering up the news, the information. We're going to listen for the rumors. We're going to bring them all right back here to keep you locked on Reds every single day.
Got to end with the silver linings. Felt good to end with the silver linings.
Yeah, because Elly is probably looking for me.
Yeah, and he's really tall, so he's going to find you.
Dark.